Hello, everyone, and welcome to this expert presentation entitled Navigating Admissions at Highly Selective Colleges and Universities. We are so glad you guys are able to join us. My name is Alicia Wimberly, and I will be your moderator for this presentation. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here. This session will be recorded and posted on the event site for you guys to return and watch again. This will also be of help to those individuals who are not able to get into this live stream. The MACAC event site will remain posted for the entire fall season. So you can return at any time to watch this presentation or any others that you might have missed or that you kind of would like to see, but you weren't able to get into. This session is being presented via Zoom, obviously, and this is our webinar mode. So all attendees are automatically muted to avoid unnecessary or inappropriate background noise, of course. And to participate in the live stream, guys, use your Zoom interaction tools so we can interact with you guys. It's going to be found at the bottom of your device that you're using. It's found at the bottom of the Zoom window. Depending on the device you're using, you might need to move the mouse over the bottom of the screen or the window to see the toolbar, which has a black background with white icons. On that toolbar, you will see an icon labeled Q&A, which is really important. Please click on that now to open a new window so that you all are set to use that function if you guys need it. And we will be doing a Q&A. We will be monitoring that Q&A stream, and we will pose the most commonly asked questions to our experts at the end of this presentation. So you guys definitely use the Q&A tool. All of your questions that you guys need, we will have answered. And today we are honored to host 3 experts on this great topic. I want to introduce you guys to Erin Ray, who is an Assistant Director of Student Outreach at Skidmore College. Hello, Erin. Sebastian Scabar, who is our Assistant Director of Admissions at Trinity College. Hello, Sebastian. And George Lunkin, who is the Senior Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Emory University. How are you, gentlemen? Thank you for joining us. And I know this is a great conversation for everybody that wants to get into this, and everyone is trying to get prepared for college. So again, we're so thankful you guys are joining us. And on behalf of the College, AIM, and DeKalb Human Services Department and the Offices of Youth Services, I want to extend an especially warm welcome to all of our panelists. And I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to come. This is a very important topic, and you guys are taking your future very seriously. So with all that, those big words being said, let's begin. So let's get started.
All right, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Erin Ray. I work in the Opportunity Program Office at Skidmore College, and I have about 10 years of experience working in selective college admissions. All right, so you're thinking about applying to highly selective colleges. Maybe you're already in the process. You've started your applications. You got your essays queued up, and you're probably wondering, like, what do I need to know? What do I need to do to improve my chances of getting into a highly selective college? So 2020, it's a weird year. COVID-19 has thrown pretty much everything out of whack. Everything's been flipped upside down. Most of you are probably doing school remotely or in some sort of hybrid fashion. The end of your junior year, if you're a senior, was probably really, really bizarre. Maybe classes, the dynamics of classes changed pretty significantly. Many of you maybe haven't been able to take SATs or ACTs. So you're wondering, like, how am I going to make myself a strong candidate? Even before COVID-19, your grades are always the first thing that colleges are looking at. They're placing a lot of emphasis on the consistency or improvement in your grades. They're looking at the types of courses you're taking compared to that of the peers at your school and what your school offers. But at the end of the day, your grades are the most important thing. Many students will try to focus on test scores. They'll spend 20 hours a week studying for the SATs. That's just one small part of the college application process. Extracurriculars and sports, a lot of students think, hey, basketball is my ticket, all right? It's a ticket for some, but it's a very, very small percentage. Some students think, well, I don't have to work that hard in class, but my teachers really like me. I'm the class clown. You know, letters of recommendations are definitely an important part, but it doesn't come, like, you're not going to have the strong letters of recommendations if your grades aren't backing them up. Finally, a lot of colleges do offer interviews, and a lot of students can perform really well in interviews, but at the end of the day, you can have the most phenomenal interview of all time, but if your grades aren't where an institution wants to see them, it's not going to matter. So your grades are the thing that you want to put as your first priority when trying to be admitted into highly selective institutions. All right, the next thing you have to do is you have to learn how to prioritize your time. I mentioned before that students oftentimes will place their focus into areas that won't necessarily help them. So as I mentioned before, students are trying to just do things to add to their resume. They've joined the chess club, but they don't really enjoy chess, but like, it looks good on my college application. Or they volunteer at a soup kitchen, but they only do it 1 hour a month, twice a year. But they're just doing it so they can put it on their college application. They're studying for the SATs or ACTs 20 plus hours a week. They're working with tutors. Again, that's time that you could be focusing on your academics and helping yourself to become a well-rounded individual. When it comes to your extracurriculars, you want to rank them, right? Not necessarily on your application, but you want to rank how much time you're putting towards each extracurricular activity. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many hours in a week. If you're stretching yourself too thin, you're setting yourself up to potentially become stressed, to become overwhelmed, to have your grades take a dip because you're not putting enough time or effort into that. Learning how to prioritize your time, to organize your time, to manage your time will be extremely helpful later on when you're in college. So if you can master that long before you even apply to colleges, it's going to make the whole college application process smoother, and you're less likely to be stressed out. All right. So when you're applying to highly selective colleges, a lot of times students are being denied not because they don't have the qualifications to be admitted, but simply institutions don't have enough spots to admit all the students that meet those qualifications. So applicants are going to have strong grades, they're going to have great extracurriculars, they're going to have strong recommendation letters, and quality applications, essays. What can help students to stand out? Supplemental essays. A lot of institutions require supplemental essays. Also, a lot of institutions will have them as optional. But if a college is offering you an opportunity to share more about yourself, do you think it could help you, or do you think it's there to hurt you? More times than not, it's there to help you. It's an opportunity for you to really show that you've done your research on that institution, and you're not just applying because there's no application fee, or because your best friend's ex-girlfriend's mother's niece is going to that institution. You want to show that you're actually interested in that institution. One of the best ways you can do that is through your supplemental essay. Oftentimes students will save it to the last minute. They will find it to be annoying, or it's another hurdle they have to overcome, and they won't put as much effort into it as they do other parts of the application. And as readers, we can tell when the student has rushed through their supplemental essays because there are glaring mistakes and omissions. And as I mentioned before, it does allow you to show who you are. All right, so demonstrated interest. So not all institutions track demonstrated interest, but many institutions do. While colleges spend a lot of time, or you spend a lot of time trying to impress colleges, they're also spending a lot of time trying to impress you. So they're visiting high schools before COVID. They're doing it virtually during COVID. They're doing college fairs. They're hosting interviews. They're hosting visitors to campus before COVID. But they're also sending emails. How many of you, I mean, I can't see you, so I'm assuming you're going to raise your hand, but how many of you get an abundance of emails from institutions, many times you've never even heard of, right? And those emails will have your name in it. They'll have your intended major. Like, wow, this school really knows me, right? It's all software. And the trick is, though, that if you open those emails, they'll know it, right? If you click on links in those emails, they'll know it. Colleges track demonstrated interest, and the reason why they do is that a student is more likely to enroll at an institution if they've showed some form of demonstrated interest compared to a student who hasn't showed any form of demonstrated interest. So interacting on social media, doing interviews, whether it's with alumni or with a staff member in the admissions office, can be a great way to show demonstrated interest. Consider applying early. There's a number of different ways that you can apply to colleges, but a lot of institutions, especially selective institutions, will fill sometimes almost half of their incoming class through early action and early decision. Early action is non-binding, so you'll find out sooner, but there's no pressure to enroll. Restrictive early action is also non-binding, but if you apply through that option, you can't apply early to any other institution. Early decision is binding. So if you're admitted, you're expected to enroll, but the admit rate for students who apply early decision is oftentimes significantly higher than students who don't apply early decision. And finally, all right, so start early. No matter what year in high school you are, it's never too early to start thinking about the college application process. Stay organized. There's a lot of templates. If you just Google college admissions applications tracking templates, you'll find a lot of really good tools out there. Do your research. You're making a decision that's going to impact you for the rest of your life. You don't want to just leave it off to chance, because if you don't do your research and you end up at an institution that you're not happy at, you're going to not necessarily have regrets, but you're going to have second thoughts later on, which can make enjoying your time at the college that you go to really challenging. Listen to your school, your college, your CBO counselors. They're not doing this because they make tons of money. We're all underpaid, okay? All right, they're doing this because they're passionate about seeing you succeed. Utilize them. There's going to be times where it sounds like they're nagging you. They're doing it for a reason. Listen to them. Consider colleges outside of your comfort zone or in parts of the country you've never thought about before. A lot of colleges really prioritize geographic diversity. So you're all in the Atlanta area. I bet you there's not many schools in Minnesota that receive a lot of applications from Atlanta. I'm not saying you want to go to Minnesota, especially in the winter, but if there's less students from the area you're from, it can sometimes help to make your application stand out. And then finally, I'll say, and hopefully my fellow panelists won't take offense to this, but be critical of college admissions offices. Their job is to make you want to apply or enroll at their college. Their job isn't to tell you about all the negative aspects or the challenges that students face. I was guilty of this when I worked in college admissions at Union College. I was like, Union's great, it's my alma mater, yay, you should go here. And then after a couple of years, I realized, like, no, but it's not perfect. Here's some things you should think about. No college or university is perfect. Ask challenging questions. Seek out employees or students other than admissions reps or student tour guides when you are able to visit college campuses before you decide to enroll, because they're going to let you know what life is really like at that institution. And with that, I will cede the floor.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Sebastian. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. Thank you all for being here. So in my 10 minutes or so, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Common App and really what you can expect as you begin to fill this out, and just a general overview of sections and things to think about as you go about this process. So first and foremost, navigating to the Common App website. So it's going to be commonapp.org. This is what it will look like when you get to the main page of their website. And you'll want to click right here into create an account. So creating a Common App account is free, but you will more likely than not have to pay to actually submit an application to an institution or institutions through the Common App. So once you've created your credentials and your account, you'll be brought to a login page. So for the purposes of today's session, I'm going to be displaying a sort of test applicant page so that we're not sharing any confidential information. So when you log in to the Common App, this is what things will look like. And we'll go through each of these tabs just so that you have a sense of what to expect. So first and foremost, you'll see here your dashboard. So your dashboard will display colleges that you have applied to or are planning to apply to. And you'll also be able to click into sections such as this one, where you're able to see sort of, which sections you still have to complete, various requirements and things like that. Moving on now to the My Colleges tab. So in this tab, you'll see all of the schools that you're hoping to apply to, maybe even schools that you're thinking about applying to and haven't necessarily started to complete their application quite yet. So for example, we have here Trinity College. Up at the very top, you'll see some contact information for the admissions office, so phone, email, address. You'll also see some helpful links to college websites, maybe a virtual tour, things like that. Further down, you'll see just application deadlines, application fee information, standardized test policy, along with recommendation requirements and some more information as well. Would also draw your attention to the section on the right here, which can often provide helpful tips or guidance as you sort of progress through your applications. You can also connect with someone from the Common App if you ever do run into technical issues or any other problems, as you're filling these things out. So jumping into this section again, you'll see the Add a College button down here. So if you do want to add any other schools, you'll simply search for their name. So just as a very general example, Holy Cross. So this is an institution that I worked at in the past. So this is why I'm bringing this up. I'd also just recommend really being mindful and intentional in terms of which school you select and add to your My Colleges list. It's sometimes easy just to, click on the first name that pops up in your search and add them. But just talking from personal experience, that may not always be the school that you're hoping to apply to. So again, just make sure that you're checking the city here, the address, and just general information about each school that you add to your list. Moving on to the actual application itself. So here you're going to see a number of sections. So you're going to see profile, which is really just general information about you. They'll ask for your first, middle, last name, your sex. They'll allow you to talk a little bit more about your gender identity, your date of birth, address, just some general information around who you are. Coming back up, they'll then ask a little bit about your family members, about your parents, about your siblings. So it's always helpful to have this information sort of prepared or ready even before you start filling out these applications, just so that you're ready to jump right in as soon as you are able to create your account and put your college list together. We then have the education section. So this will really ask about all schools that you've attended, and they'll allow you to enter in things such as date of entry, date or will you graduate, graduation date, some other details. So that brings us to testing. So I always recommend that applicants and students really check with each particular institution that they're applying to as to what their most current testing policy is. Many schools, especially now during COVID-19, have altered their testing policies. Many have become test optional. So even if you see something listed on the Common App, it's always helpful just to double check and confirm with each institution that you're going to be applying to. So that brings us to the activities section of the Common App. So this is a section where you'll really be able to list any and all activities that you've been involved in throughout high school and throughout your life up until that point. So you'll be able to talk about how many hours you've spent overall in that particular activity, any leadership positions you may have held, provide a general description as to what your involvement entailed, and really just give us as application, readers a sense of, what gets you up in the morning, what you're passionate about and what you spend your time on overall. And this is sort of what things will look like if you select yes, that you would like to list some activities. So you'll be able to select activity type. So you have many different options to choose from here. Again, leadership positions that you may have held, the name, participation grade levels, and hours. And then again, whether you're interested in participating in a similar activity in college. And that brings us to writing. So most colleges and universities across the United States will require an essay of some kind. Most will require, just that Common App personal essay. And then some will also offer a supplement, which Aaron talked about, that you are welcome to submit as well. You'll have a variety of prompts to choose from for your Common App personal essay. You'll see some listed here. And then usually towards the end, you'll also have right here, just the option to really write about anything that is of interest to you and that you feel that you can really talk to us about. And then finally, once you are able to, or once you're ready to submit your application, you'll then navigate back to the My Colleges tab, go down to the Review and Submit section. So as you see here, we cannot yet submit because we have some outstanding sections here, but you will then see the option to submit your application and pay the application fee. If you, again, ever have any questions about whether your application was received by a particular college or university, always recommend, again, just giving them a call or shooting them an email, and just making sure, again, that you're all on the same page. And again, you have their contact information here, just based on which school you've added. Something that isn't a component in the Common App that Aaron talked a little bit about is demonstrated interest. So this is something that, again, is highly recommended, whether it's engaging in a college interview or, just having informal email or phone communication with a staff member in admissions office. Those are things that, are separate or outside of the common application, but still very, highly recommended that you engage in, throughout this process. So that's just about it for me. And I think I'll hand things off to George.
Thank you.
Who doesn't love technical difficulties? 2 seconds.
Hey guys, I'm George Lunkin. I am the Senior Assistant Director Financial Aid at Emory University here in Atlanta. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I am going to talk to you a little about the financial aid process overall and the process that many highly selective universities and institutions use as well. So we're going to start with applying for financial aid. Just like applying for admissions, you need to apply for financial aid to get funds from the school. We in financial aid encourage you to apply for financial aid at the same time that you're applying for your admissions or submitting your admission applications, many students apply for financial aid after they hear from the school. And by that time, all of their friends have received their financial aid offers and scholarship offers and so forth. But if you apply at the same time with admissions, admissions will go out one day. Your financial aid usually is released the day after the admissions decisions. Um, FAFSA is the number one place to start. FAFSA.gov. That's going to give you any of your federal aid. The CSS profile, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, that is the application that private institutions use to calculate any need-based funds from the institution itself. And your parent tax returns and your tax returns will be needed as well for whatever year that you are applying for. Institutional specific aid applications. One good thing about having aid applications directly from the institution is that it gives you that extra space to let the school know what's happening in your family's financial picture, which the FAFSA doesn't give you that opportunity to explain, but the CSS profile does. Moving along. You can now submit your FAFSA earlier each year. The date to submit your FAFSA is October 1st. So right now you can actually apply and submit your FAFSA for next fall, which is school year 21-22. And when you submit your FAFSA, you'll be using your parents' 2019 tax information and your 2019 tax information if you filed taxes that year. So it's not too early if you're ready to submit your FAFSA for the upcoming school year. Processing a CSS profile. As I said, the CSS profile is the application that private universities and highly selective universities use to calculate your need-based eligibility for institutional funding. With the CSS profile, just similar to Common Application, there is a charge. It's a $25 fee for your initial college that you're applying for and $16 per school afterwards. However, it's a very interactive application. So depending on your family's income and so forth, that fee may be waived. If the fee is not waived automatically, here at Emory, we do waive the fee based on the student's total financial picture. But if a school's not waiving the fee initially, you can contact the school to ask for the fee to be waived. And again, this application is also open October 1st. So you're not too early to start applying for financial aid for the upcoming school year. Next. So this slide here is an interesting slide. Marriage or lack thereof is not an indicator of parenting. You divorce your spouse, not your kids. And I put that out there because using the CSS profile and private institutions, they're going to ask for information from both your custodial parent and your non-custodial parent. So if your parents are separated or divorced or never married, we're still going to collect information from both of your parents because we believe that both parents should contribute to their students' higher education expenses. And you can see the funny, whoa, oh, okay, that's fine. The non-custodial profile, as I mentioned, we're still going to collect information from both parents. If your parents, like I said, were married or you were adopted and they're now separated or divorced, we're going to ask for that information from the non-custodial parent. There are situations where you're unable to get it. You may have never met your non-custodial parent. It could be a bad relationship, abusive relationship, whatever it may be. There is a waiver process that the schools will allow you to complete. Usually with the waiver process, we are asking for you to complete the waiver to tell what's going on, like the last time you've had contact, why isn't mom or dad not submitting their things. But unwillingness is not a reason that the school will usually waive the requirement for the non-custodial parent. Also, we will ask for a third-party letter, just to give us a little bit more information on your behalf, to have the information waived. So, how is eligibility for financial aid determined? Your cost of attendance minus your expected family contribution. By completing the FAFSA and the CSS profile, you're going to get expected family contribution from both applications. I'll tell you now, the CSS profile is going to ask you for at least 50 more questions than the FAFSA will ask you. It's going to go into a lot more detail and depth than the FAFSA. Believe it or not, you won't believe how much information that we as financial aid professionals know about you just from your CSS profile once you get to campus. And your cost of attendance minus your expected family contribution is your financial need. And that's how your financial aid is generated based on your financial need.
And with that being said, I want to thank our amazing presenters. I know everybody's giving you a virtual round of applause. You guys did amazing. I know you guys gained a lot of information from that. So right now, I'm just going to take I'm going to take some of you guys' questions. And again, if you guys do have questions, please make sure to use the answer box. It's from the instructions that I had said in the beginning. Move your mouse over the bottom of the Zoom webinar window, and then there should be a Q&A icon, and you guys can put your questions right in there for me. So click on that icon, open the Q&A window, and you could ask a question, anything and everything. So I believe we have one question. If I could open it. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right, great. So we actually have a question. What is considered a good/great GPA? And I'll start with that one. What is considered a good/great GPA? It's our first question.
It's going to depend. I know that's probably not an answer that a student wants to hear, but a great GPA at Skidmore might not be a great GPA at Columbia University, but might be a fantastic GPA at SUNY Cobleskill. So it depends on, the institution and what their middle 50% is looking at. That's how students can kind of gauge where they stand. If your GPA is at or above what that middle 50% is, then yeah, that's a great GPA. If you're falling below, then while it's not a bad thing, in the context of that institution, it might not be as strong.
Thank you so much for that, Aaron. And we have another question. What do I do when I have no contact with my father, since now I need his info for FAFSA?
If your father is your non-custodial parent, you do not need his information for FAFSA. You will only need his information for the CSS profile, but if you have no contact with him, most likely whatever school that you're going to will allow you to waive the non-custodial information. For the FAFSA, you only need the information for your custodial parent.
Awesome. And we have another question. Does your CSS determine your merit-based scholarships?
The CSS profile does not determine the merit-based scholarship. It is specifically a need-based application for private schools. Usually, at least here at Emory, our merit-based scholarships are determined through the admissions process.
All right, we have another question. I'm a parent, also a service-connected veteran. Are there special financial aid my son can apply for?
I would actually apply for the veteran benefits or check with your veteran benefit coordinator to see exactly what additional financial aid that your son may apply for, because he could still apply for the FAFSA, the CSS profile, depending on the school, to get the financial aid through there. But sometimes there are other scholarships that or awards that veterans and their dependents may qualify for.
Awesome. We have another and another and another. Can you give a great example profile? Can you give a great example profile, like what you think would be ideal for a school that you know of?
I can take this one. So just speaking based on, my experience working at Trinity, I can talk a little bit about what we're looking for. So at least from an academic standpoint, average GPA for us for admitted students is typically right around an A minus or so. We don't really, say a specific GPA, whether that's on like a 4.0 scale or, a 12 point, 16 point scale. It varies from school to school. So we just, say A minus for the most part. And, as most schools out there, we are also looking for a positive and just an upward trajectory in terms of academic performance and also in terms of the rigor, of the coursework that you've taken. So, depending on your school and what's available to you, hopefully you're taking, more and more challenging classes over your 4 years and you're doing, better over time. We're also test optional, so that can play into our admissions decisions, but most of the time it does not. Around 60% of or so of our applicants don't submit scores. So I'd also just recommend that folks connect with schools that they're applying to, as I mentioned earlier, just to make sure that they know what the testing policy is, and also just a general sense of what the ranges are for admitted students.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys got a lot of questions. Try to get through as many as possible in the next few minutes. Since many schools are test optional, how will schools determine qualifications for merit scholarships?
Yep. So institutions are going to create their own guidelines for how they're going to consider merit. It is, again, I feel like I'm always saying this, but it's going to vary from institution to institution. Different institutions have different priorities. So some institutions might prioritize students who have strengths in the STEM fields. Others might prioritize students who are strong writers or talented musicians. So it's going to vary. There's a lot of institutions that have been test optional long before COVID-19 was a thing. And they've been able to give out merit scholarships without those test scores. So be confident going into this application season, knowing that even if you don't submit test scores, you still will be competitive for merit scholarships.
Awesome. What could sophomores do this year to be more prepared to apply or have a better application in 2 years? And yeah, Aaron, go ahead.
I would say, kind of going back to my section of the presentation, focus on your grades, focus on organizing your time, managing your time, and prioritizing your time. Focus on areas of your life that you're actually really interested in. Don't try to fill it with a bunch of things that are just going to look good on a college application. Develop healthy habits and start researching colleges now. You don't have to apply to them as a sophomore, but start attending programs like this. I think you're at a good start that you're here tonight. But keep doing that, start researching, and hopefully once COVID-19 is over, you'll be able to start visiting some institutions and start making connections with college admissions reps.
Awesome. And then you guys are people, Razine, I hope I pronounced that right. She says, or she or he says, is a FAFSA application CSS profile required for all colleges?
It is not required for all colleges. The FAFSA, if you're looking for financial aid, you have to start with the FAFSA, and that's for your federal financial aid. Depending on the school that you're applying to, you'll need the CSS profile if they're giving away institutional funds, if they have a need-based population for institutional funds, but it's not required for all colleges.
Awesome. And then you guys have so many questions, but I'm going to end it with, what are some tips and tricks you would recommend for getting the best information from colleges, considering there are so many colleges and applications that we have to do?
I can jump in on this one. So I think it depends on the kind of information that you're looking for, right? So if you're looking for sort of like the outward or public facing information, sort of like the marketing data, you can go on a website, you can, shoot an admissions rep an email or give them a call. But I think if you're looking, for more insider information, or, like the real scoop on how things are on a certain campus, go to your guidance counselor and ask, whether they can connect you with a student, from your high school who then attended that particular college or university. or, you know, go on a school's website and see if they have any kind of like tour guides that you can reach out to, or student workers, anything like that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And this is so important. I just want to know for Sierra really quickly, even though the school says test optional, if you have a test score of 32 on the ACT, should you still submit your test score?
So I just typed the whole answer to that and posted it, I think. But again, it's going to depend. You know, a 32 ACT at Skidmore, fantastic, submit it. A 32 at Harvard or MIT, it's probably not as competitive. It might fall below their 50%. So it goes back to looking at the profile of the institution. If a 32 is at or above the average, then the rule of thumb typically is like, yeah, go ahead and submit it. If you're well below their profile, then you may not want to submit it. But in this year, in the age of COVID, you know, many students don't have the ability to take test scores, so colleges are going to be receiving a lot less applications with test scores. So it's a little bit undetermined on how test scores will play a role this year. But I think sticking to that rule of thumb of at or above, submit, well below, consider not submitting.
Thank you so much. You guys have so many questions, and I personally took them down so that Aaron, Sebastian, and George could, you know, if possible, maybe put it out there on social media, on their websites, any contact, because I know you guys are really interested in, you know, the colleges. This is you guys' future. So I want to thank you again. I want to thank our expert panelists for coming out tonight. You guys were amazing. And it is now time for you guys to join your next session. You guys were amazing, a great audience. We love the questions. The 7 p.m. sessions can be found on the presentation page of the MACAC site. So after this session, be sure to explore your college options in our virtual college fair. And I seen a question in the chat. Yes, this is recorded, so you will be able to see this on the MACAC website. We have more than 50 interactive college booths where you can watch videos, download materials, and even chat with admissions representatives live. So all students who engage with at least 10 colleges between 7:45 and 9 p.m. tonight will enter into the drawing for Apple AirPods and Amazon gift card. Guys, I do not have AirPods, and I go to Georgia State. All I do is walk on campus. But yes, I'm a fellow college student. Please go to as many as you can. The more colleges you visit, the higher your chances are of winning. And that concludes this presentation. Remember that you guys can come back to this event page at any time to watch this recording. It will be posted by tomorrow. So thank you guys again, and please enjoy the rest of the conference. So thank you, everyone. You guys getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.